We're just interested in talking to you about British response to what's going on in Turkey and Syria. What is our response to that, Minister?
Well, immediately on the news of this appalling catastrophe in both Turkey and Syria, we reached out to the Turkish government to find out what we could do. And as a result of those discussions, and carefully coordinated across the international sector, Britain is sending 76 people who specialise in getting people out of the rubble, and 4 sniffer dogs, and also an emergency response team to see what more widely we can do to help. The critical thing in these circumstances is the first 72 hours. These significant British assets are waiting to leave Birmingham. They were ready to leave last night. Has to be coordinated with the Turkish authorities. I expect them to leave within the next couple of hours so that they land in daylight. And then this British expertise will be helping what is a huge international effort to save lives, as I say, in these critical 72 hours.
Oh, that's interesting. So, I mean, we were told initially yesterday that they were expected to land around 11 o'clock last night. Are things delayed because there's obviously problems with infrastructure, airports and things on the ground in Turkey, issues getting the team out there?
Yes, that's partly it. I mean, it's being coordinated very professionally by the Turkish authorities. They were ready to leave last night, but my information is that they will be leaving imminently, and of course they will be landing in daylight, and that is the time when they can be most effective.
What's your sort of assessment, looking at the images that you've seen personally? I mean, we've been looking at these images of buildings just collapsing in a matter of seconds. Given that Turkey is on a fault line, it has a history of earthquakes, this will be at the worst in 84 years. It is shocking to see the poor infrastructure and the impact that has on human life, is it not?
Well, it is. I know Gaziantep. I was there a few years ago as part of the Syria emergency. And of course, it's a place that is very densely populated. And an earthquake of this scale, which, as you say, hasn't been seen for nearly a century, is absolutely appalling in its outcome and effect. And that's why the Turkish authorities are carefully coordinating the relief. One of the things we learned from the Haiti earthquake over 10 years ago now was the importance of coordination and everyone not just rushing in. And so the British support, which is very specialist and very technically strong, it will land in daylight today, I hope later this morning, and it will immediately hit the ground running. And I hope that they will be able to save lives, because, as I say, these first 72 hours are when it really counts.
And I suppose it's a real double tragedy in terms of, as you described, what's been happening in Syria in recent years, a country that's already been devastated by the war there, and the human suffering, really shocking.
Yes, I mean, Syria is in a dreadful condition because, of course, the access to the affected area is so limited. There's only one border crossing, which at the moment is being used, and I hope that the UN will be able to negotiate additional crossings so that aid can get into the northern part of Syria, which, as you say, has suffered so much. It's very ungoverned territory. There's very little governance there to help. Britain supports the White Helmets, which were a civil defence group, but they are actively engaged. We've given them money before, and we will give them money again to support them once we know precisely what their requirements are.
And Minister, what about British nationals? Listen, we know what your priority is. We know that the rescue, people who are buried under rubble and whatever. But if British nationals are affected by any of this, either in Syria or in Turkey, are you there for them?
Absolutely. On the Foreign Office website, there are phone numbers for those in Britain to use. There's also phone numbers for those in Turkey to use. Unfortunately, our reach in Syria in a consular setting is very, very limited. But those numbers are on the Foreign Office website, and they should be called by anyone who's got family there or who is in a state of anxiety.
Meanwhile, back here in the UK, in fact in Westminster, where you are, expected to be a busy day. We're told your boss planning a mini reshuffle, and I see in the Times newspaper this morning you're named as a possible successor to Nadhim Zahawi as Conservative Party chairman. Is that a role that you would welcome?
Well, these are matters way above my pay grade, and they are matters for the Prime Minister. But I'm very happy indeed doing a job which I've done before and love very much, which is the international development job. And I'm going to do my best, particularly today, to see that Britain puts its shoulder to the wheel and that we save as many lives as we can of those poor people who are caught up in this catastrophe in Syria and Turkey.
Do you think the Prime Minister should use this opportunity to shuffle out Dominic Raab, given the headlines and the sort of distraction that it's causing?
No, there's a process around these allegations that have been made about Dominic, and that process should be followed. You know, we live in a country which believes in a system of fairness and justice, and that's what has been set up, and I don't think it should be preempted in any way.